Facts about suicide you need to know. September 10th is observed as International Suicide Prevention Day. Suicide is a concern because in some countries suicide is one of the biggest causes of death. Here are the facts about suicide. 1. Writing style and suicide risk. A person's writing style can be related to what happens to him. Creativity, depression, and suicide have long been linked. Some of the famous writers who committed suicide include Ernest Hemingway, Sylvia Plath, and David Foster Wallace. The writers have something in common, in which the writing is covered with the story of suicide. Even Ernest Hemingway, through his work, is said to be very obsessed with death. 2. Depression is not just a cause of suicide. Depression is often associated with suicidal activity. That's not the case though. According to Dr. Marcia Wallenstein, researcher at the Department of Veterans Affairs Health Services Research and Development Service, 2 out of 3 people who commit suicide experience depression. However, it should not be ruled out that 1 in 3 people who consume alcohol are also involved in suicide. Thus quoted from Health. 3. It is not true that poor countries have higher suicide rates. All financial deficiencies will generally bring its own life pressure. But it doesn't necessarily mean that poor countries whose people lack material resources are the biggest contributors to suicide rates. Countries with low incomes, such as countries in Latin America, have less suicide rates than richer countries. Russia, Japan and France are countries that are considered rich and have a fairly high suicide rate. Likewise with the United States. About 54 out of every 100,000 people in Russia, for example, commit suicide each year. Moderately high alcohol consumption is thought to be a responsible factor. 4. Suicide attempts often fail. Dr. Wallenstein said, only 1 in every 10 to 25 suicide attempts actually causes death. Well, to further reduce the failure of suicide, then the way that can be done is to eliminate the means that can be used to commit suicide. The means that can be used for suicide include drugs that are easy to use as poisons and lethal weapons. If the means of suicide are so visible in front of the eyes, then people who are constantly thinking about committing suicide are more motivated to realize their desires. 5. Suicide can be imitated. A suicide attempt by one person can inspire another. Therefore, Dr. Wallenstein appealed to journalists not to describe in detail in his news how someone ended his life. It should also be conveyed in every news report about the importance of detecting and seeking help for people who are prone to committing suicide. 6. Men are more at risk. Data shows that 3 times more women than men attempt suicide. However, 4 times more men than women actually commit suicide and then lose their lives. In the United States, more than half of suicides use a gun. The harder and more lethal methods like this are mostly chosen by men when attempting suicide. Meanwhile, women are more likely to choose a subtle way, such as poisoning themselves with drugs. Sometimes this method does not make them lose their lives, because they immediately get help. I hope this information is useful, and adds to your insight. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment, and press the bell button, so you don't get information about interesting facts from this channel.